Hello and welcome to...
Start that again. What was that? Hello. Just a hello.
I'll start out like I normally start my interviews. That'd be better.
Just say hello.
Hello, this is Kugan Cassius for IFL TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. With me, I have promoter and sporting a new hairstyle.
Is it?
A little bit. Eddie Hearn.
Gone for the fade.
Mm.
I'm 35 years old, Cook. I'm sort of having a mini midlife crisis.
You want to buy a new
Sometimes
car?
I'm actually looking at buying a new car.
You just said that.
Yeah, I know, but something's come up.
Oh really? We'll talk about that later.
Just to let the viewers know, there is a fly in here, and I have a Froch Groves programme here, read it. Look, you see it. So, mid-question, if I jump up and give it one of them, you've been warned.
Okay, I can deal with the fly.
Do you know, I was expecting a nice day today, Friday, and woke up and thought I've got to do a Q&A with Kugan, and then you told me that I got a lot of stick on the Q&A. Can't believe that.
You got a few sticks.
I was much loved.
There was just under 5,700.
Is that 5,700?
5,700.
Do you make up porkies when you talk about the numbers? Because that sounds like a lot.
Alright, wait there. You tell me what that says then, I'm not even going to say anything. Right? What does that say?
5682. You said...
Right.
Yeah, but you said...
Alright, roughly,
right.
5682, right? That's your Hotmail. Fastcar at hotmail.com.
I can't believe you got it on your iPhone.
Why not?
Anyway, well done. So how do you... You can't read all of them.
I have to read all of them. What's the point of doing it? But a lot of them are repeated.
Right.
So, anyway, let's crack straight into it.
Why are you such a...
Yeah, we'll come on to that. There's a couple of them.
Let's go.
The quicker you go through them...
We're going to... Sometimes in the past I've been going on too long. Going to be nice, short and sweet. Honest. What you're watching here. I'm going to give it to you real. You want the truth. You can handle the truth.
Right, Jack. Right, let's open it up. Steve Gallagher. Straight question. Pick one. Don't sit on the fence. Who do you actually want to win from Brooke and Gavin? And don't say, I can't say because they're both my fighters.
No, you know what? Someone said to me the other day, because I said, oh, there's going to be 3 new world champions in May. And someone said, oh, what about Frankie Gavin? I'm not really commenting on that fight. I can tell you how I think, about the fight. But in terms of who I want to win, and I know it's cheesy, you let them do their thing. May the best man win. It doesn't really matter. We've got both fighters, so who do I think is going to win? I think Kell Brook is a big favourite in the fight. Gavin is bang up for it, and I think on his night, if he can perform, he can cause Kell Brook major problems.
Alright, as a promoter then, I'll chuck this in. What's of more benefit to you? For a Brook win or a Gavin win? We
control the world champion, the IBF world champion at £147. If Frankie Gavin beats Kell Brook, he has massive value. So it's impossible to say.
Okay. Just thought I'd chuck this one in here. Right. Mark Phillips. Eddie. The show on May the 30th is a good card, but seriously, how can you justify it as a pay-per-view when the headline is Kell Brook fighting a guy who couldn't even win a European title? Fair play to Gavin for the shot, but pay-per-view should surely be elite fights in boxing, i.e. Mayweather Pacquiao or Froch Groves 2.
Totally disagree. There's 3 elite fights on headlining that card. Lee Selby against Yevgeny Granovich for the IBF featherweight title. Kevin Mitchell against Jorge Linares for the WBC lightweight title, which is unbelievable. And Kell Brook against Frankie Gavin for the IBF welterweight title. It's 2 Brits fighting for a big world title in the same division as Mayweather and Pacquiao. I totally disagree. And actually, we got murdered about Bellew Cleverly pre-fight, and actually post-fight, because it was an average fight. We've been quarter murdered on this one. And if you read Boxing News last week, most people believe it's a pay-per-view card. Some people are saying we'd rather it was in June, because obviously you got Pacquiao Mayweather 4 weeks before. I disagree. I think Brooke Gavin is a big domestic fight. I think it's in a division that is just so fruitful and relevant with Pacquiao Mayweather. You've got Johnson against Joshua. You've got Ryder against Blackwell. You've got Cardle against Evans for the British. I mean, it's absolute monster card. The fact is, this is a pay-per-view card, and it delivers value for money. It's up to you whether you buy it or not. We've had this conversation a million times, so I'm not going to go on and waste a question time. So, if you want to put the question, is Brooke Gavin a pay-per-view fight on its own? No.
So you're going by the card.
It's got 3 world title fights. I mean, you know, people moaned at Bellew Cleverly that it's DeGale, Groves, they're massive names, but they're not in big fights. Now you've got big names in big fights, in proper fights, where world champions are travelling to the UK to defend their title. We could have 3 new British world champions on one night. So
yeah, but just his last point was about the elite fights in boxing, i.e. Pacquiao Mayweather, Froch Groves too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you not see as a point with that of that calibre? Because Froch Groves 2 was...
Yeah, this is a better card than Froch Groves 2.
It's a better card, but the actual main event...
But what I'm trying to deliver, Kugan, is value for money. So when you switch on your TV and you watch the show, by the end of the night, have I got value for money? The problem is with Bellew Cleverly is the main event was nowhere near what people expected. Now you can sit there and, you know, the criticism about Bellew Cleverly was, it's James DeGale against Periban. Well, now you've got Kevin Mitchell against Jorge Linares, 3-weight world champion, WBC lightweight champ, coming to fight one of the most popular fighters in the UK. Lee Selby fighting the Russian, defended his title, 6 times?
5th.
Okay, sorry about that.
Well, he's already done it 5th. So
and now you've got Gavin, who sold over 1,000 tickets at Birmingham, coming down. The atmosphere is going to be electric. I'm telling you, that night delivers you value for money. The fights are too good not. And if you speak to people in the business, in the trade, they all believe it's a pay-per-view card. The problem is, perhaps, it hasn't got as big a names as the Bellew Cleverly card. The likes of Groves, DeGale, you know. So, but we know the card's going to be much better because of the quality of fights that are on the bill.
Okay. Tom Costello.
He's a boxer, isn't he? Or was that Joe Costello?
Joe Costello. Would there ever be any chance of a public negotiation to make a fight? For example, Quigg Frampton. I'm sure everyone would like to see what goes on behind closed doors to get the fight made.
Are we doing tickets?
Oh yeah, we haven't even mentioned this because I've got a pen ready to
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give tickets away. I'm going to give a couple of tickets away for the O2 for the blinders, and I'm also going to give tickets away for Birmingham. That guy gets 2 tickets for Birmingham. I love the idea of public negotiations.
So this is a Birmingham guy?
Yeah. I love the idea of public negotiations because, and you know, some people think that we make things up, or we're so transparent, whether you like it or not. Read my Twitter feed. I'm too transparent, but I don't give a monkeys. And with the public negotiations, I would absolutely, especially in the position of Frampton Quigg, because the public would not believe why these people do not take the fight. So, for example, everybody is involved in the negotiations. Me, Scott Quigg, Scott Quigg's lawyer, Barry McGuigan, who is Carl Frampton's official manager, will not even come and meet me. Didn't even turn up to the meetings. What sort of manager's that? How's that looking after the best interest of your fighter?
There's a question about this.
Okay, we'll come back to that. So, in answer to the question, the only person that is not involved in the negotiations of this fight is Carl Frampton. Now, I don't know what he's being told. I presume, I hope, he's been told the whole conversations, but he's not in them. So, I'm answering 200 questions a day on Twitter from fans about this fight, about the negotiations, about what is not happening. Every time someone asks them a question, we don't want to talk about that. Eddie Hearn, he comes out, he does this. Well, why not? Talk to the fans. Tell us why you don't want to take 1.5 million. Tell us why you don't want to take 50-50. Tell us why you don't want to take 60-40. Because I will box off every excuse you've got. We want it on a co-promotion. You've been offered it on a co-promotion. We think we should get more money, more split. You got more split if you can beat Scott Quigg. We think we bring more money to the table. You don't. You got no backing. We're bringing, through our broadcaster, all the revenue to the table. You want to jump on with us to get paid? Then play the game. Not looking to take liberties, we're looking to pay you a fortune. That's what I want to do for every fighter I represent. Pay you a fortune. Change your life. Give you the life you deserve for all your hard work. And now, I saw Carl Frampton retweet this morning, oh, if Scott Quigg fights Kiko Martinez, he's going to get knocked out and exposed. Really, mate? You better cross your fingers then, son, because it's going to cost you a couple of £1 million and you're going to be kicking yourself for the rest of your life. Next question.
Marvin writes, Eddie, the standard of your regular, in inverted commas, shows seems to be slipping, i.e. Newcastle, but you always big them up to be some sort of mega show. You need to make better fights and listen to the paying public more. What do you say to Marvin?
Okay, I say we're under pressure because of the bar that we've raised. So a lot of the shows, and Newcastle for example, if you look at the fights, John Lewis Dickinson against Stephen Simmons, I believe was a decent fight. I enjoyed it. The 2 super flyweights was a cracking fight for the Commonwealth title. And then you had Joshua, banged out Gavin. Travis Dickinson come out, got knocked out in the first round. Okay, Jeff Saunders debuted, big KO. So
Bradley Saunders was off the bill,
yeah.
headlining.
Listen,
yeah.
We've been kicked in the nuts quite a few times this year. You know, I'll give you some examples. Anthony Crolla got hit over the head by a paving stone. Anthony Joshua got a stress fracture in his back. That was just January. You know, Bradley Saunders fractured his hand before the big fight in Newcastle. You know, Luke Campbell, with his father being unwell, wasn't able to be in. It's endless, but this is boxing. But on the whole, I think a lot of those fights, particularly the one he mentioned. I mean, Leeds. You know, even Leeds. We had Chris Jenkins collapsed on the Thursday before the fight. Yet still, Tyrone Nurse was in a really good fight. Josh Warrington was a good fight. Max Hughes against Martin Ward was a good fight. You know, so I actually disagree. I know that not every show is going to be Wembley, and I know the fans want great shows all the time. The plan moving forward is to look at perhaps combining some of the dates to make stronger cards rather than spreading ourselves so thin. I'll talk more about this in a couple of weeks when we've got a major announcement to be made that will effectively blow up British boxing and secure the future of our fighters and our team. But I'll tell you more about that in a couple of weeks. But whereby sometimes if we've got a show in June in Liverpool and we've got a show in July in Manchester, how about combining the two? Put the rights fee together, give you a super show that's even borderline pay-per-view, but not. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
The problem we've got is we've got so many fighters, but with our obligation on the dates, and I shouldn't even really be talking about this, but I'm thinking out loud. I'm talking to you and I'm talking to you. Do we need 20 shows? Can we do 17, 18? But monsters. Do you know what I mean? Every now and again. And you'll see by our July card that we'll announce what I'm talking about. It's what we're planning at the moment. Where you'll turn around and you'll go, that is an unbelievable card. Sometimes, because of rights fees for one show, maybe we can't put on a card that some people fantasise about, and me as a boxing fan fantasise about as well. The one that I'm looking to put together in July is one that makes you go wow. And I do think we need more wows. I think sometimes we do solid Saturday night shows. Is solid Saturday night shows good enough? Sometimes, if we don't get unlucky with fights falling out, yes. What happens when fights fall out? You know, just rabbiting.
Okay. Norman Ryan, is Coyle versus Campbell actually happening in Hull? If so, when and where in Hull?
Originally that fight was planned on middle of July. We've got a big show in Manchester coming in July now, so we're looking at potentially running that in August. It's a fight I like, it's a fight I want to make, it's a fight both fighters are up for. So in answer to your question, yes, I believe it will happen, but probably not on the originally scheduled date.
Okay. Ben O'Flynn, following the success of Frochgrove's 2 last year, do you feel that this year has been a bit, in inverted commas, flat in comparison due to the failure to secure a massive marquee fight like Brooke Khan? Don't get me wrong, there's been some great fights, but without the big nights that appeal to the masses, I just wondered if you it has left you feeling slightly flat and disappointed.
You know, I'm not gonna moan and like sulk, but this business is a right pain in the arse. And listen, although I've been around it for most of my life, I've only been in it for what, 4 or 5 years. So these old boys, Frank, my old man, Kelly, they know what kind of business it is. It's you know, you have your swings, you have your ups, you have your downs, and sometimes fights get made and sometimes they don't. We definitely need that super fight this year. Do you know what I'm saying? For the good of British boxing. I don't think that necessarily. Alright, Dazzling. You got to come on screen now. Because you're looking well.
Oh, Barker.
Come on. Just to show who's in the house. The IBF middleweight champion of the world.
Right.
Former.
Dazzling down.
How you doing? You alright?
Right, yeah, not bad.
Just doing a little
You come back? Your hip's
Nah.
still fucked.
Yeah, it's knackered.
Just doing a little Q&A.
Yeah. Live.
How's the boys, alright? New coach extraordinaire.
Yeah?
Coaching.
Flying.
Cheeseman. O'Hara Davis.
Didn't see him.
Freddie Barker. Or Darren Sims.
Oh yeah. I wonder what you were talking about there.
It's a late night.
I'm just going through some questions
I'll read one out.
Hold on, what was that last question?
about Frochgrove's 2
Yeah, we
being
definitely need. We're
flat.
talking about we need that big British super fight. You know what I'm saying? Brooke Khan, Frampton Quigg, and because of Frochgrove's 2 at Wembley last year, we haven't really had one yet this year.
Or Barker Ratola.
Barker Ratola or Barker Kerry
Barker
or
Big fights at the time.
Barker. So a great story about Darren Barker. Was it? When was the Stefan Akrap fight scheduled for? Before Martinez.
Yeah.
So once he beat Sparta, then you were injured after Sparta, weren't you?
Yeah.
Won the European title, and he got injured. Then we were looking for a comeback fight. So we were saying like, where are we going to go? Where are we going to go? So we said we'll go to Brentwood Centre. And this is how careers turn around. 1 minute we're going at the Brentwood Centre, and we're going through the list of opponents, and we found the perfect opponent from Croatia.
Tough nation,
Yeah.
tough boxing nation,
Yeah.
Croatia.
but unfortunately his name was Stefan Akrap, right? So we've had the posters done and everything, wasn't it? The only way is Barker. Total cringe to do it at the Brentwood Centre. It was like Barker versus a crap.
Yeah.
So it was.
Crap opponent.
And then all of a sudden, DeBella comes on and offers us the Martinez fight for about 20 times the dough.
Yeah.
And you can talk about this now, about, I don't even think you're in shot there,
Well, I was get down
about
there.
fighters, and a good example, come here, look,
I'm getting right in the middle here.
about,
I see you're in.
this is golden TV. People say sometimes, oh, why are they taking that fight? Like, you know, how can you, and same with Paul Smith against Andre Ward.
Yeah.
And I always say that it's a case by case scenario. So if you look at Paul Smith, right, where he's thinking, I'm going to fight Arthur Abraham, this is 2 fights ago. If I lose, I'll probably call it a day,
Yeah.
right? Probably go and work for Sky. All of a sudden, puts in a good performance, calls for the rematch, get the rematch. It's like you're free rolling now, you know what I mean? So you get the rematch and you think, oh, I'll have one more. If I win, great. If I don't, I'll call it a day then. Put in another good performance, all of a sudden you're thinking, don't feel too bad. You know, I didn't really take a lot of punishment that fight. If a big fight comes up, all of a sudden, Andre Ward, obviously a career high paycheck. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? And it's like the Martinez fight. You remember that the money was so big compared to what you were using. You know, and I know it was like we knew we were up against it, but you can't. How do you turn it down? Do you know what I mean?
It's like, I suppose, Twitter, for instance,
Yeah.
is the platform for people to voice their opinions. When people are giving Paul grief personal to him,
Yeah.
it don't make sense. Because why are you giving Paul stick? The fight's been offered to him, as if you're going to say no.
Yeah.
It's mad. The same with me with Martinez.
Yeah.
And I suppose with Paul as well, he's had them 2 big fights against Abraham, world title fights, he doesn't really want to have to drop down a level, does he?
Yeah.
And he wants to get in there and test himself against the best. So
I get a lot of stick for talking about money a lot,
yeah,
but I deal with fighters, and at the end of the day, I mean, when you fought Sturm, remember when I remember sitting in Tony Simmons' office, I said, right, Darren, could do this fight in London, and you're going to get X, or we've had this offer to go to Germany for X. I think your exact words were, you better book the flights.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like...
So I get so much stick about this because, and Twitter again, and it would be nice to say, I'm glad I walked in now, because with that fight, I don't think I ever would have been 100%. When I thought Gil was, I went 100%. I never would be 100%. But I couldn't risk that fight falling through.
No,
Do you know what I mean? Pulling out and the fight falling through, I couldn't do it. But ultimately, I still thought I'd win the fight.
But
I
listen,
still thought I would win.
We went into the fight, I was there with you the whole week, confident.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't have the best camp, but you still had a good camp. Everyone thought you were going to win that fight. Everyone.
Including myself.
Yeah, I know. So
the thing is as well, I couldn't win, so I pull out, and it's a liberty. All the people who paid their flights,
if
blah
you
blah
pull
blah.
out, you probably retire as well.
I would have retired, yeah. And you know, I fight, and I fight not 100%, and I'm a con artist. You know, I've gone out there for the money. People forget I went out there to earn some money, to win the fight, but to protect my family. You know, and the people who paid money to come out and fight. You know, I'm gutted I lost.
I watched that fight the other night. I would have loved you to be in Gil shape and mentality for that fight. If you watch that fight back, the first round, the pace of the first round was, and I think maybe in your head you were thinking, I need to stick it on him.
Yeah.
You know,
well, Joe, what, it changed instantly, that Gil fight. I remember the plan was to aggressively outbox him.
Yeah.
And it completely went out the window because after about 30 seconds I thought, this geezer's so awkward.
Yeah.
You know,
Gil.
He was so awkward. He didn't look it, but he would get out of range by like half an inch. I was missing my shots. I thought, Joe, what? I've just got to scrap the game plan and just get stuck in.
Yeah.
I knew I was fit enough, and I wanted it. I wanted it.
He's had a good run.
He's had a touch.
But
yeah.
you look. I'd love you to have fought Sturm.
Yeah.
110%.
Joe, I would have liked, if I'm deadly honest, right? If I'm, you know, I'll be honest here. I wish, but it's just the way of boxing. I wish I earned the money I did against Sturm when I fought Gil, because I never would have fought again.
Really?
I would have retired then. I would have retired, winning the belt. That would have been. I can say that.
Oh, no, I don't know.
That would have been my last fight. Without
Really?
that, if I'd have earned that money. But
that's mad, isn't
you
it?
know, I honestly.
Marvin Hagler was there last night. I was looking at his record on the way home.
Yeah.
He lost to Leonard. Never fought again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Beat everyone. Fought Leonard. And I asked him last night, and he said, it's very hard to get out for your morning runs when you're wearing silk pyjamas. That's his standard line. She's great, isn't it?
It was an honour to meet him yesterday.
Yeah.
I was buzzing. We shared the same title. IBF middleweight title.
What about old Charlie Edwards getting up on the stage and all?
Did he?
And I also like to welcome Charlie Edwards from Repton, 2-0. Darren Barker, Marvin Hagler, you know, John Conley.
All right, I'm going to slip off. You're busy, isn't
Cheers for that, Dan.
Yeah, pleasure.
Cheers,
Little
mate.
cameo.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed it. See you later on.
Bye,
Have a
bro.
good weekend.
All right, mate.
See you later. See you in Vegas.
See you in Vegas.
See you in Vegas.
Cool, go out there.
Hopefully.
Yeah. He'll be there.
You asked if you trying to get a freebie.
He's got a
That's
free
why we're
bill,
doing
hasn't
this now.
he? Yeah.
Complete the sky.
See you, mate.
See you later on.
That was great view.
Yeah, last time we had Karen, and now we've got
Yeah,
Barker.
that was great view.
Right.
I love Darren Barker. How honest is he though? Can't believe he said if he would have beat Gil for the money he got for Stern, he would have called it a day on that night. Wow. I'd have been devastated.
Honestly. Connor Martin. Never had a question asked. Hopefully.
Yes, Connor.
Lucky this time. Eddie, which matchroom fighter, past or present, have you witnessed with the strangest pre-fight or post-fight dressing room celebration or superstition? Thanks, guys. Keep up good work.
I think it was Kell Brook when he fought Sean Porter. Do you remember in his change room, that whiteboard?
Oh, yeah.
It was like chocolate brownie right hand.
Oh, yeah.
It was like just covered in pictures and everything. But the best one is Ricky Burns, who, like fighters generally, because the adrenaline of the night, they might pop to an after party or a nightclub or go for a nice meal. Ricky Burns goes straight down McDonald's and sits in there for about 5 hours and has about 40 cheeseburgers. That's what he does. But in terms of rituals, there's nothing. I mean, they might have their personal things, but
Okay. Ross Darley, what's the biggest fight that can be made in boxing other than Mayweather-Pacquiao?
Everything's relevant to different markets. So, if you're talking about in the UK, it's Brook Khan. If you're talking about in America, outside of Mayweather-Pacquiao, I think if you're talking about the South American market as well, I'd say it was Canelo Cotto. What about you?
I'd go along with that. You think Brook Khan?
In the UK? Tell me a bigger fight in the UK.
Potentially, Hey Joshua.
Not, yeah, but it's not. I mean, I talk about fights that could be made now.
Right now, yeah. Brook Khan.
Brook Khan, I think, is the biggest fight in the UK. I think Cotto Canelo is a huge fight, especially in Mexico and Puerto Rico. I think Golovkin Froch could be a massive world.
Come on to that. Right, Chris Smith. As you get some abuse on Twitter and reply with cost this and other to make fights, couldn't you do a behind the scenes on how documentary style thing on for Fight Pass so people could see the insides and outs of from a promotional point of view?
Yeah, I suppose I could. I mean, I'll just try and there's a reason for everything. So on Twitter, it's quite difficult to actually break it down and explain the situation. But it's really frustrating when people come on and say they're going through the Frampton numbers and they go, "Well, it takes 3 million on the gate." It's like, no, it doesn't. It takes about 1.3 million on the gate net after commission, after agents' fees, after VAT. So all of a sudden you're 1.7 million out straight away. And there's so many things that people don't know, and I try to break it down for them. And I hate to be a numbers man, but that's how you run a business. So I've got to deliver for my fighters, who some of the big ones will own the shows, and I work for them, i.e. the revenue goes into a pot and the profit goes into a pot. So I have to get it right for them. And some things are possible and some things aren't. I don't like to go into too much details about the numbers, and I probably shouldn't, but I have to give reasons and justify myself, because that's the world we live in, especially with social media.
Okay. Evan Simons, is this Kevin Mitchell's last attempt at a world title? Surely it is.
Do you know what? It's one of them where I'm saying yes because it's such a tough fight against Linares. What if he boxes well and then Crolla wins a world title, and then, depends how he loses. I think that's probably the best answer.
If he loses,
yeah. Well, obviously. But I think that if he got stopped and got outclassed, he'd probably say yes. It was a great fight, really close. Losing to Jorge Linares is not the end of the world. Honestly, believe he's going to win this fight. I think it's his time. If he wins this fight, it is going to be an unbelievable night. Unbelievable. Check the odds. 10 to 11 a fighter, even money.
Check with Betway, by the way.
Well, we'll have to see who's sponsoring the show. But
I'm telling them to check to Betway.
I'll tell you. I'll tweet who's sponsoring the show. Might be Betway.
How many fighters with Matchroom don't get on, and has there ever been punch-ups and we don't get to know about? Have you had to sack a fighter for bad behaviour? This is from Danny Jones. Don't need names, just stories.
The answer is there are definitely fighters that we promote who don't get on with each other. There's never been anything like that. In terms of sacking a fighter because they behave badly, no. There's a code of conduct, in my opinion, that should be followed. And it's not a code of conduct because you're representing Matchroom. It's a code of conduct because you're representing yourself and British boxing and our broadcaster in Sky Sports. So no one's done anything to make me think I can't work with you anymore. If that was the case, sometimes you'd have to make that call. You're dealing with individuals that, to be a great fighter, you can't just be a real nice bloke. You might have had a troubled past, and you've certainly got that something inside you that gives you the capability of doing crazy things, because you're doing a crazy thing for a living. Do you know what I mean? So all great fighters have an edge, and it's about curbing that edge. But what we try and do is to give them the focus, give them the dates, give them the money, give them the itinerary, the schedule, the plan, the map to keep them focused, keep them in the gym, and therefore you don't need the other things in the life. Because if you just focus on this, which is a great job, great career, and look at what's at the end of the rainbow, if you drive towards that dream, you don't need the bad stuff in your life.
Okay. Nick De Francisco, would you ever consider a TV program about a few normal people who train to compete in a fight, possibly called So You Want to Be a Boxer? Take six people, for example, who would enter for a 6 or 8 week camp. Would be like for a pro. Follow them through their progress, and at the end of the show, possibility of a fight on an undercard would highlight how tough it is, and also build the profile of the sportsmen or women as being athletes, not just fighters.
Could work, could be decent view. I mean, all these things depends on a broadcaster to accept. I mean, there must have been 50 pilots, 50 scripts been written over the last year with different people pitching to broadcasters about this sort of reality boxing TV show, this documentary, this, that. The fact is that the terrestrial broadcasters aren't really interested in that kind of show, and even Sky and so forth aren't, because they just want live action, and they haven't got budgets yet to justify taking non-live sporting events like that. I mean, Contender's a great example. I love the Contender. I'd love to see it back. I think it would do well. I think the Contender didn't do so well financially, and I think it was a great show. The production levels were off the chain, but I don't know. We've got enough on our plate at the moment, but I'd welcome it. I just don't think the commissioning editors are going to do anything like that soon. I think you'll see a few behind the scenes boxing documentaries coming out. There's a lot of people pitching stuff to terrestrial broadcasts about that. I like something. Reality TV is massive right now, and it's just a case of pitching the right idea. But it's not really my thing.
Dan Kavanagh. Eddie, your tactics to make Quigg Frampton have obviously failed. You backed the McGuigans into a corner, so why would they want to come work for you? You're calling out Frampton to come fight on your show, on your terms, your promotion, etc. You're forgetting one thing: Frampton is the actual IBF champion, not Scott Quigg.
This is what drives me mental. He was given 3 offers. One was a 1.5 million guarantee on our show. One was a 50-50 co-promotion on both of our shows. One was a 60-40 to the winner on both of our shows, a co-promotion. It's so frustrating. The reason that we came out with the activity around the cheque was a couple of reasons. One, it's a complete waste of time. The negotiations were going absolutely nowhere. 2, I wanted the public to see just what these people were turning down and what it's like dealing with them. And 3, it was a last chance saloon to make that fight on July the 18th. And when you say you're backing the McGuigans into a corner, why would they want to work with you? Because I'm going to pay them an absolute potload of money. That's why. It's just about the money. It's just about the opportunity for Carl Frampton. Nothing else. Barry McGuigan don't like me. He won't even talk to me. He won't even sit down with me. He's supposed to be the official manager. I don't care about Barry McGuigan. I'll have a conversation with Barry McGuigan. I'll have a conversation with the worst person in the entire world. I don't care. If it means I can deliver for my client and my fighter, I will have that conversation and I will try and do a deal. Even if it hurts to do it, I don't care. That's the difference. It's not about me. It's about my fighter. Barry McGuigan don't like me, so he don't want to do a deal with me. It ain't about Barry McGuigan. He's done. His time's done in the ring. Brilliant fighter. Now it's Carl Frampton's time to earn all the money, and that is being blocked.
There's a follow-on question here from someone else, but it had relevance to this. This is from Simon Marks. I personally don't believe that Carl Frampton would earn £1.5 million fighting Rigo and Santa Cruz in the same night. Can you just explain to me how much £1.5 million is worth in that division, or am I being silly?
No, that's a good question. Give him some Birmingham tickets. So 1.5 million in that division is absolutely huge. It represents what, 2.5 million. Look at Santa Cruz's purses. Look at Rigondeaux's purses. It's not there. It doesn't exist. And when you talk about the other fights that are available, understand one thing. To make those big fights, you need millions of pounds from a broadcaster. They haven't got a broadcaster that's even paying hundreds of thousands of pounds. It can't happen. The only way Carl Frampton can fight Rigondeaux, can fight Santa Cruz, other than going to, or actually forget Rigondeaux, Santa Cruz, other than going to America, and he wouldn't earn anywhere near the Quigg money to fight Santa Cruz, even in America. And by the way, Santa Cruz ain't going to fight Quigg or Frampton. Rigondeaux, you can get Rigondeaux much cheaper. What broadcaster's going to give Frampton the money? The only broadcaster in the UK that can create the super fights is Sky Sports. So, and he can't get on Sky Sports. So, he can't have those fights. So, the option for Carl Frampton, unfortunately, is to take a voluntary defence against someone that you're all going to be disappointed with. And I'll tell you the reason why you're going to be disappointed with, because they're going to have to give him peanuts to try and pay Carl Frampton well. And Scott Quigg is going to be in a much bigger fight, but he's still going to earn fractions of what he would have earned in a Carl Frampton fight. They're letting the public down. Frampton's letting himself down. Everyone's missing out. So in answer to your question, 1.5 million is a fortune. If he wins the fight and took 60-40, he might earn 2 million. It's massive in the division. It's massive in world boxing. He can't earn, I don't think he can earn half that for fighting Santa Cruz or Rigondeaux. And in his opinion, the Quigg fight is much, much easier than those. So why not take it?
Okay. Martin Appleby, Paul Smith versus Andre Ward. No disrespect to Paul, but do you honestly think that he can beat Ward, or is this just him wanting to end his career fighting the best in the division?
I think whatever you think, and I'll answer what I think in a minute, even if you think the latter, there's no problem with that. He wants to end his career earning a load of money and fighting the best in the division. I'm happy with that. Do I think he can beat him? I think he's going to have to pull something out of a hat to beat Andre Ward. I think Ward's going to have to be rusty, which he probably will be. I think Paul's going to have to hit him very hard on the chin. He's been down before, got hurt badly by Darnell Boone. Ward's an unbelievable fighter. Paul Smith is in so deep in this fight. But what do you do? When that phone call comes from BoxNation and they say, want to give Paul Smith this fight, and you say, how much? And they tell you, and you go, and then you phone up Paul Smith, and within 2 seconds he goes, oh yes please. So do I think he can win? Mate, he's got a massive mountain to climb. Can he? Yeah, he can win. What's the percentage? Small. Is he making a lot of money? Yes. Is he having just the most wonderful experience fighting one of the best pound for pounders in America on live TV? Yes. He's out in New York at the moment with Jay-Z doing the press conferences. This is what it's about. What was the alternative? Have a 6-rounder on the Fight Pass. To come, you know.
Well, he don't not Fight Pass. but what's he meant to do then? Say, oh, hang on, actually, there's a few people on Twitter that don't think I should actually take this fight.
Listen, I mean, if you listen to what everyone said on Twitter, you might as well just go and like live in a hole. Do you know what I mean? And just have no ambition. You know, the fact is, Paul Smith is not stupid. Paul Smith knows exactly what he's doing. Does Paul Smith think he can win this fight? Yeah. Is he realistic to know it's a massive, massive mountain to climb? 100%. He'll train hard, he'll give it his best, and then he'll have the fight. Whatever happens, he'll get paid. Buy that house, pay off your mortgage, send your kid to a nice school. These are the things that are important to me as well. You know, I had a little rant yesterday on Twitter. It's sometimes as nice. Kell Brooks just bought a real dog's bollocks house. I'm so happy. Do you know that? And when I see him in that house with his family, electric gates, nice motor, makes me proud. Do you know what I mean? Even like as proud as when he won the belt. Because he's done something with his life, and I've helped provide that opportunity for him. He's done it all in the ring. But we haven't even scratched the surface yet. Let's see what sort of house he's got in 5 years. But it's not a case of, oh, look at me with my big house. It's just, that's what you want out of life. How nice is it to be able to send your kids to the best school you can send them to? How nice is it to have a lovely house so you can have the family around on a Sunday and a nice garden for your children to play in, and do you know what I'm saying?
I agree.
But that's, you know, and maybe I shouldn't say that because fans go, oh, but that's the truth. I'm sorry, and Paul Smith's the same. Paul Smith's thinking, God, get this dough, buy a new house, pay the mortgage off, send my boy to private school. And they're the things that matter in life. Of course winning's important, of course the belts are important, of course glory's important, but family and future is also important.
Okay, I agree. Dave Walsh, hi Eddie. I know you said that BoxNation was not viable in the long run, but they appear to be doing much better of late. In my opinion, the content they put out is far superior to that of Sky. How do you plan to combat and give fans more bang for their buck in the future?
I've always said in every interview I've always done with you, I think BoxNation provides great content. The international content is superior to Sky, there's absolutely no doubt about that. The UK content is not on the same level, in my opinion. You might have another opinion, people might have another opinion. I don't believe that without significant backing and investment, it's a sustainable business. And I'm just giving you that answer because you can see their accounts. I don't want BoxNation to go tits up. I want competition. And I need to be pushed. And I'm not saying what they're doing, particularly in the UK, is pushing us. But yeah, from then getting into international fights, Sky will get a few international. I mean, Sky's international schedule recently has been pretty impressive. You know, taking away Manny against Pacquiao, you've had Kovalev, you've had Stevenson, you've got Durrell against Badu Jack, you've got DeGale against Durrell, you've got Ward against Smith, you've got Burns against Figueroa, you've got McDonnell against Kameda, and I'm sure there's been others this year as well. So it's great to have that competition. Everyone's bouncing off each other. It's not up to me to combat BoxNation's international content because Sky don't see a competition. Do you understand what I'm saying? One's a subscription boxing channel, one's the biggest sports channel out there, and they're, you know, Premier League football right across the ball. So they want the best boxing content possible, but it's not about competing with BoxNation because they're two totally different things. If you want to watch American boxing at 4 a.m, you know, an international card, I think BoxNation provides a good service for you. If you want UK boxing, in my opinion, I think the Premier UK boxing is on Sky. Certainly the Premier stable. But you know, I'll never knock what they do because I think what BoxNation have done is credible. I just don't think it's a sustainable business without significant investment, and you don't know when that's going to run out.
This is from Martin Theobald. Would love it if you could fit this into one. There's been a lot of outlets for media that you could choose from: podcasts, Twitter, Facebook, Sky, IFL, traditional magazines, etc. As the face of matching boxing, how do you choose to separate your time, and when does it get to a point where you need just more than yourself and your old man from time to time representing the organisation? With a stable so large, there must be the risk that certain fights get underexposed if you didn't have the time.
Good question. You don't see what goes on behind the scene. You know what's in the office. Yeah. John Wish, Ross, Anthony, Karen, Steve Dawson, Frank Smith, all working full time on the boxing. Frank, at the moment, good example. I sent him off to New York to represent Paul Smith out there at the press conference. I can't do everything, and that's, you know, a good question in that respect. And it's a bit like Burns Figueroa and McDonnell against Kameda, my old man's game. I'm doing Birmingham. I can't be in Birmingham and in Hidalgo. So we're growing our team. A lot of the guys that started with us 5-6 years ago are now in more senior positions. John Wishausen's very respected in British boxing, world boxing. And I like to do as much as I can, and I'd like to think the fighters like me there with them. But you know, with the amount of fighters we've got and the fights that we're doing all around the world, it's not possible to be there all the time. And I've got a family as well.
Okay. Elliot Lee, if a boxer of yours was banned for taking peds, would you take them back after their ban?
I don't think so. Depends on the circumstances. Depends. A lot of these times, I think if you're taking peds, you're always to blame.
That's performance enhancing drugs, by the way.
That's number one. But sometimes, you know, I know of athletes outside of boxing that have who previously, before they've gone to a trainer or a camp, I don't believe that they would have taken performance enhancing drugs, and somehow they've ended up taking them. I mean, you look at the likes of someone like Dwayne Chambers, right? I've known Dwayne for a number of years, and I would never have expected him to take performance enhancing drugs. And somehow he's got involved in a system, or I don't know, where he has. So when do you forgive? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if you've got a fighter who's your friend, and, you know, I mean, out of all the fighters I represent, I'd honestly be shocked to the core if one of them was taking peds. And I'd be really, really disappointed. And the initial reaction is, you're out, mate. And it's not just me, it's a broadcaster as well. Do you know what I mean? And it's a general public. So unless there's a reason why, in terms of, you know, you were talked into it, you didn't even know, or I don't know. But the bottom line is, if you're taking it, you know. But my initial reaction would certainly be, you know, and someone's like the Muppets will go, oh, you put Larry Olubumu in prize fighter. He served his time. He ain't my fighter. He went into prize fighter. We have drug testing, you know. But in terms of representing someone of fighting someone's corner, in terms of having that relationship with them, do you look at them differently when that has been exposed? You know, I think the answer is yes.
Okay, Sean Everett. Two things. Why do you always say you and Froch fancy the Triple G fight? Loeffler says that fight is so easy to make. You say Carl would fight him, so why not just make that fight? It's what the fans want to see, and now Chavez, I assume, is out of the picture. Second, Froch said in an IFL interview that if the Gal wins IBF title, it may be on hold or keeping it warm. What's the point in that? Why didn't he just fight the Gal in the first place?
Okay, I'll answer those questions. Number one, Froch does quite fancy the Triple G fight. Him, again, he's not an idiot. He knows how tough a fight it is. And at 38 years of age, he's got to want to get in there with a beast. But he's quite sick in the head, Froch. So I think we know he's all capable of doing that. It's really about the money. And the answer is at the moment, HBO will not put up the money required for me to pay Carl Froch what I want to pay Carl Froch for that fight. In 6 months, I think they might. Because Gennady Golovkin is going to have to take small... Remember what I always said, if that fight was on pay-per-view in America, happens like that. Right? Otherwise, HBO have got to stump up the money for Golovkin. If they do it, the fight can be made. But they won't yet. But I believe that fight's going to get bigger, and the demand for that fight is going to get bigger and bigger. So that's the answer to the Golovkin fight. Regarding Tom Loeffler, that fight's so easy to make. Yeah, that fight is so easy to make. If Golovkin takes less money and Froch takes less money than he's earned last time, and actually doesn't really motivate him. I mean, again, it's a dangerous fight. You've got to get the money. The other one about De Gale against...
Just he said about Chavez is out of the picture.
100% out of the
okay.
picture.
Right.
100%.
Okay. Yeah, De Gale, because...
So, when Froch was offered the De Gale fight, without speaking to him, whether he didn't fancy it because of the style, whether he couldn't get himself motivated for the fight, didn't think it was big enough, probably all of those, because De Gale's a brilliant fighter, and Froch knows De Gale's a brilliant fighter, but it just didn't excite him. And that's the truth of it. And an uninspired Carl Froch, or an unmotivated Carl Froch, is actually not an average fighter, but nowhere near the same fighter. If De Gale goes out and beats Durrell, that fight becomes huge. Then would Froch be up for it? Maybe, maybe not. But Carl Froch is fascinated by the Gael Durrell fight, and so am I. Can't wait for that fight.
Absolutely. Jason Tully, does George Groves still think you're a C word, or have you
Cock or
no the
worse?
other word,
Oh.
the worst word, or have you sorted it out with him now? By the way, Eddie, you're defo in the top 10 UK promoters. Keep it up.
Top 10? Oh, thanks, mate. Does George Groves still think I'm a C? I don't think what he's put. He might think I'm a cock. Yeah, I know what he is.
Yeah, one was just showing me.
No, I don't think that, but maybe the other one. I think the bottom line is if he's going to fight Durrell, Anthony, and he wants it on Sky, he's going to have to work with me. But that's fine, because his last 2 fights since Froch have been with me and on Sky. And I'm close with Callie Sutherland, who we get on very well with. So we've got no problem working together. One thing we couldn't do was the DeGale Groves fight. You know, we couldn't get that one round. And I hope that George Groves beats Durrell. And I hope he gets the shot. And I hope and I believe, and I'm actually sure, James DeGale will beat Durrell. And that fight, as a unification, is just massive. George Groves knows what he has to do to get what he wants. And if that's to work with me, I'm sure he will. And vice versa. You know, I gave George Groves and Sutherland a date in September. Not Sky, me. Because he's great for the channel, he rates well, he's a good fighter, he's going to be relevant to future pay-per-views. That's why I did it. I put George Groves on my November card on Sky Sports Box Office. Why? Because he's relevant, he's a good fighter, does good numbers. I will continue to put him on Sky Sports if it's of interest to me and my broadcaster.
Okay. We're nearly running out of time for part 1 here.
Okay.
But
do one more
we're
or
not
2?
finished. If you can quickly answer 2 questions.
Okay.
Right. Eddie, can you, from Kieran Horn, Eddie, can you explain how the fighter promotion relation works? Does the fighter manager ring him up asking him to get the fights, or does he ring up the fighter asking them, do you want to fight? What would be interesting to know the actual process.
This fighter manager?
Yeah, how the fighter promotion relation works. So does the fighter or fighters manager...
Some fighters have a manager.
Yeah.
Some fighters are self-managed. Generally only the most experienced fighters or more experienced fighters are self-managed. So effectively, when a fighter has an official British Boxing Board of Control manager, that manager will speak to the promoter and look for opportunities for the fighters. So if it's Steve Wood, if it's Tony Sims, if it's Dave Caldwell, they'll phone me up, or I'll phone them up and say, right, I want your boy to fight X. And he'll go, right, how much is it? And I'll go, blah. And he'll go, well, that's not enough. And then all the aggro starts, and then you find a nice point. If you're dealing with a fighter who's experienced and they're self-managed, I will deal with the fighter direct. So if it's Paul Smith, if it's Scott Quigg, if it's James DeGale, if it's Carl Froch, or other self-managed fighters, deal direct with the fighters. They know the business. And if you've got the right promoter, then I believe the manager element can sometimes be bypassed. But particularly in the earlier stages of your career, many have managers.
Okay, we'll just quickly finish with Daniel Baker in this part. In your opinion, who right now is the best trainer in boxing?
I probably don't know. I mean, you've got some great trainers in America. You know, obviously Freddie Roach, Sugar Hill, I think he's a good trainer as well. Robert Garcia. You know, over here you've got some great trainers. Joe Gallagher, Tony Sims, Jimmy Tibbs, Mark Tibbs. Sorry for those who Dominic Ingle. Sorry for anyone I've missed out, but it wasn't intentional. I think Rob McCracken's a great trainer. I really do. I've seen him work with, obviously Froch and so many fighters on the GB. I like the way he talks and I like his calmness in the corner, but everyone brings something else.
Alright, well listen, that's all we have time for part 1. I don't know how many parts there's going to be because there's a few more, so
Okay.
we
Well,
might
hopefully
just take a
one
little break and
Okay. See you on part 2.
part 2 will be out tomorrow. Thank you very much.